Dwight Yoakam, an icon in the world of country music, is known for his bold, rebellious spirit and his ability to defy the norms of the industry. Rising to fame in the late 80s, Dwight wasn't content with the polished, pop-infused country that dominated Nashville. Instead, he embraced the gritty, honky-tonk sound of the past, capturing the hearts of fans who craved authenticity. His collaboration with Buck Owens in Streets of Bakersfield catapulted him into the spotlight. But just as quickly as he emerged, Dwight seemed to vanish. His sudden disappearance left fans and industry insiders alike wondering what happened to the man who shook up country music. After years of silence, Dwight made a return, but he was a changed man. What led to his absence, and what has he been up to since? In this video, we dive deep into the highs, lows, and mysteries surrounding the enigmatic Dwight Yoakam. Dwight David Yoakam was born on October 23, 1956, in the small town of Pikeville, Kentucky. The eldest of 3 children, Dwight's roots were in a family where hard work and ambition were important values. His father, who served in the U.S. Coast Guard, was a significant influence in Dwight's life. When Dwight was very young, the family moved to Columbus, Ohio, where he would spend his childhood. It was there that Dwight's exposure to country music began, as he was surrounded by the sounds of Johnny Cash, Johnny Horton, and the rock and roll influences of Elvis Presley. Radio was a major part of his upbringing, and it was through the AM station WANE that Dwight first fell in love with country music. This early exposure ignited a passion in Dwight for storytelling through music. By the time Dwight turned 8, he was already holding a guitar of his own, a gift from his father. However, music wasn't just a casual interest. It was a life path he was starting to embrace. Dwight's early years were marked by trials and tribulations, not only in his family life but also in his pursuit of music. At first, he wasn't quite sure how to translate his passion into a career. His first attempts at playing guitar weren't perfect, and as time passed, he found himself struggling to make his musical dreams a reality. But Dwight wasn't one to give up. During his school years, Dwight played in a high school band, and by his senior year, he and a group of friends formed a rock band to compete in the school's talent shows. The band gained some local popularity, and Dwight began to take his musical ambitions more seriously. It wasn't just about playing for fun anymore. He realized that this was what he was meant to do. Despite being part of a band that was somewhat successful at the local level, Dwight's big break remained elusive. He faced rejection and had to work through the struggles of pursuing a dream in an industry that often didn't recognize raw talent right away. But all of these early failures became part of the fabric of Dwight's music, fueling his determination to keep going. At a crossroads, Dwight made a pivotal decision. Rather than continue down the traditional path of many aspiring country artists who flocked to Nashville, he chose to take a different route. Instead of heading to the heart of country music, he set his sights on Los Angeles, where the musical landscape was broader and more accepting of non-traditional sounds. This was the beginning of Dwight's unique approach to music, one that combined his love for honky-tonk and the raw edge of punk rock. In LA, Dwight met Pete Anderson, a guitarist and producer who would become one of his key collaborators. Anderson shared Dwight's love for traditional country, but also embraced the energy of punk and rockabilly. The partnership between Dwight and Pete was pivotal, as it would define much of Dwight's sound moving forward. Their music was anything but conventional. It was stripped down, raw, and authentic. Dwight was not interested in the commercialized, pop-infused country music that dominated the charts. Instead, he began creating music that was deeply rooted in the honky-tonk style, mixing it with elements of rockabilly and alternative country. This new approach wasn't just about reinventing country music, it was about getting back to its roots. As Dwight worked with Pete Anderson, they both understood that the music scene in Los Angeles offered a freedom that Nashville couldn't. They were able to experiment with their sound, blending country with rock and punk influences. This was a bold move in an era when mainstream country was increasingly commercialized, and Dwight's refusal to conform to industry expectations only solidified his position as a true outsider in the country music world. Through his unique sound, Dwight started gaining attention not only from country fans, but also from the punk and rock communities. His ability to combine these influences allowed him to stand out, making waves in a scene that was more experimental and less constrained by traditional genre boundaries. Despite the struggles and early failures, Dwight's move to Los Angeles would lay the foundation for his success, both as a musician and as an artist, with a vision that was unapologetically his own. Dwight's path may not have been an easy one, but his persistence and willingness to embrace his influences and challenges ultimately set him apart from the pack. It was the start of a career that would defy expectations, shake up the country music scene, and introduce a new era of authenticity and grit. Dwight Yoakam's entry into the music world wasn't just about creating songs, it was about redefining what country music could be. His breakthrough album, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., released in 1986, catapulted him into the spotlight. With its raw, honky-tonk style, it was a direct challenge to the mainstream country sound of the time. While other artists were churning out glossy, radio-friendly tunes, Dwight's sound was gritty, authentic, and unmistakably rooted in the past. It was this distinctive style that set him apart and earned him a loyal following. But what really solidified his place in country music history was his iconic collaboration with Buck Owens. In 1987, Dwight surprised Buck by showing up unannounced at his office and convincing him to record a duet. The result? Streets of Bakersfield became a massive hit, and it was a game-changer for both artists. For Buck Owens, it marked a resurgence in his career after years of obscurity, while for Dwight, it solidified his reputation as a country music rebel. The duet was more than just a song, it was a statement. In an era when country music was becoming more and more commercialized, Dwight was unapologetically bringing back the traditional honky-tonk sound. This was his defining moment. He wasn't just another Nashville artist trying to fit in, he was a force of change, challenging the status quo. As Dwight's star continued to rise, so did his reputation as an outsider. While many of his contemporaries in Nashville were happy to embrace the mainstream, pop-infused sound of country, Dwight refused to conform. He was determined to make music that reflected his roots, even if it meant taking on the establishment. He wasn't afraid to call out what he saw as the commercialization of the genre. Dwight's music was a rebellion in itself. His refusal to play by Nashville's rules made him a polarizing figure in the country music scene. But for Dwight, this was never about pleasing industry executives or chasing radio hits. It was about staying true to the sound he loved and believed in. This defiance didn't go unnoticed. As Dwight continued to rise to fame, he faced increasing pushback from the industry. Record labels weren't thrilled with his refusal to embrace the Nashville formula, and MTV was even more resistant. The network, which had become the go-to platform for promoting music videos, refused to air country music videos, including Dwight's. This was a blow to his career, as the music video was becoming a powerful promotional tool for artists at the time. But Dwight wasn't one to back down. He continued to speak out against what he viewed as Nashville's corrupt, commercially driven approach to country music. He criticized the industry's focus on mass appeal, arguing that it was turning country music into something unrecognizable. Dwight's stance on the music industry wasn't just about making a statement, it was personal. He had seen firsthand how the Nashville machine worked, and he didn't like what he saw. As the 1980s gave way to the 1990s, Dwight's refusal to compromise continued to alienate him from the mainstream. While artists around him were churning out hits, Dwight's sound was growing less and less commercial. His albums were still true to his honky-tonk roots, but they weren't as popular as they once had been. The industry that had once embraced him now began to turn its back on him. By the mid-90s, Dwight's popularity began to wane. His record sales were slipping, and the respect he had once commanded in Nashville was fading. The backlash was evident as his music grew less mainstream, and his defiant stance against Nashville became even more pronounced. He wasn't getting the same radio play he once had, and his albums weren't topping the charts. Dwight's sound, which had once been fresh and groundbreaking, was now seen as old-fashioned by some, even though it was the very essence of what country music had always been. This decline wasn't just about sales, it was a personal struggle for Dwight. As he faced more rejection from the industry he had once challenged, he had to wrestle with the question of whether staying true to his roots was worth the price of success. Despite the decline in popularity, Dwight never stopped making music that was true to himself. But as the industry around him evolved, Dwight found himself further and further distanced from the mainstream. His refusal to compromise had earned him a reputation as both a hero and a pariah, someone who had the courage to stand against the tide, but who also faced the consequences of doing so. In the mid-1990s, just as Dwight Yoakam's career seemed to be on the rise, something strange happened. He disappeared. His albums, once beloved by fans and critics alike, began to lose traction, and radio play became scarce. For an artist who had built his reputation on defying the mainstream, it was almost as if Dwight had dropped off the radar completely. His music, which had once made waves with its honky-tonk authenticity, seemed to fall out of step with the changing landscape of country music. His commercial success waned, and soon public attention turned elsewhere. Dwight, who had been the face of rebellion in country music, seemed to vanish without a trace. The question on everyone's minds was simple. What happened to Dwight Yoakam? No one expected it. The industry that once embraced him seemed to move on, and Dwight's absence raised a lot of questions. While the music world was changing around him, Dwight's silence suggested that something more was at play than just waning popularity. Fans who had once cheered his every move now found themselves wondering where he had gone. The country music scene continued to evolve, and Dwight, who had always refused to conform, seemed to step out of the spotlight as suddenly as he had stepped into it. Then, in 2006, Dwight made a surprise reappearance at the funeral of country legend Buck Owens, and it was clear from the moment he walked into the room that something was different. Dwight was no longer the bold, rebellious figure that fans had once adored. He had changed, not just in appearance, but in demeanor as well. The man who had once been a symbol of defiance in Nashville now seemed quieter, almost unrecognizable. The sudden return of Dwight raised a new set of questions about his disappearance. Had he left the music scene voluntarily, or had something else caused him to step away? His return brought more mystery than answers. The sight of Dwight at the funeral sent shockwaves through the country music world. Fans and industry insiders alike were taken aback by the transformation. Dwight, the man who had once railed against Nashville and its commercialism, now seemed a far cry from the defiant figure who had once challenged the system. His appearance at Buck Owens's funeral was a poignant moment, but it was also a cryptic one. The public was left to wonder, was this a sign that Dwight was returning to the limelight? Or had his time in the industry truly come to an end? In the years that followed, Dwight remained relatively private, offering little insight into why he had disappeared in the first place. His re-emergence was intriguing, but it raised more questions than it answered. Had he experienced a personal crisis? Had he become disillusioned with the music industry? Was there something more profound at play behind his decision to step away? While Dwight's reappearance marked a turning point in his life, it also deepened the mystery surrounding his disappearance. The sudden nature of his exit from the public eye had left fans and the media speculating for years. Was it burnout, a personal tragedy, or simply a decision to step away from the industry he had once fought so hard to change? Whatever the reason, Dwight's absence was felt throughout the music world. It wasn't just a hiatus, it was a complete vanishing act. And when he finally reappeared, he was a changed man, quiet, reserved, and perhaps even more mysterious than before. Dwight's return didn't answer all the questions that had been raised during his time away, but it did offer a glimpse into the complex, multi-layered life of an artist who had once been larger than life. His reemergence at Buck Owens's funeral was a symbolic moment, one that marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Yet even now, Dwight remains a figure wrapped in mystery. What happened during those years away from the spotlight? And why did he choose to re-enter the world he had once left behind? These questions continue to linger, even as Dwight quietly moves forward in his life. The story of Dwight Yoakam is one of triumph, mystery, and defiance. A story that has captivated fans for decades and will likely continue to do so for years to come. Dwight Yoakam's talents didn't just shine in the world of country music. He also ventured into acting, where his charisma and distinctive style quickly caught the attention of Hollywood. Dwight's first significant role came in the 1993 crime drama Red Rock West, where he played a supporting character. However, it was his performance in Billy Bob Thornton's 1996 film Sling Blade that truly marked his arrival in Hollywood. In this dark, gritty film, Dwight took on the role of Doyle Hargraves, a character that was both menacing and captivating. His portrayal earned him critical acclaim, and it wasn't long before Dwight was being recognized as a formidable presence on screen. Known for his ability to play complex, villainous roles with depth and authenticity, Dwight's success in Sling Blade opened doors in Hollywood, and his acting career began to gain momentum. However, his true ambitions went beyond acting. Dwight wanted to direct, and in 2000, he took the leap with South of Heaven, West of Hell, a Western film that he not only starred in, but also wrote and directed. The film represented Dwight's vision for a new type of cinematic storytelling, one that would blend his passion for music and the cowboy genre. However, despite his ambition, the film was a commercial and critical disaster. The production suffered from a series of financial missteps, and Dwight was forced to take on substantial personal debt to complete the project. The film's poor performance was a major blow to his Hollywood aspirations and had far-reaching consequences, both personally and professionally. The failure of South of Heaven, West of Hell didn't just affect Dwight's acting career, it also put immense pressure on his finances and strained his music career. The project's financial troubles led Dwight to file for bankruptcy, and soon after, he found himself embroiled in lawsuits with cast members who claimed they were not paid for their work on the film. Dwight's ambitious move into the world of filmmaking had come at a high cost, and the fallout from the movie's failure lingered for years. He faced both personal and professional turmoil, including losing members of his supporting band, who were affected by the financial strain. The legal battles only added to the pressure, and it seemed that the dreams Dwight had built both in music and film were beginning to unravel. Amid these professional struggles, Dwight's personal life also became a subject of public interest. His relationships, often brief and tumultuous, seemed to mirror the chaos of his career. One of the most talked about was his fling with actress Sharon Stone in the early 1990s. The two were an unexpected pairing, with Sharon making headlines when she appeared with Dwight at the 1992 Academy Awards. However, their relationship didn't last long, and Sharon later made headlines again when she referred to kissing Dwight as "like a dirt sandwich," a comment that became widely quoted. While the fling was short-lived, it was just one chapter in Dwight's complex love life. Following his time with Sharon Stone, Dwight had another high-profile relationship, this time with actress Karen Duffy, best known for her role in Dumb and Dumber. The two were together for about 2 years, but once again, the relationship ended without lasting impact. Despite the occasional romantic fling, Dwight's personal life seemed to struggle just as much as his professional one. However, perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Dwight's relationships was his brief romance with country singer Winona Judd. The two had a connection during a tour, but, as with his other relationships, it was short-lived. Despite their chemistry, they were both focused on their demanding careers, making it difficult for the relationship to thrive. Throughout these years, Dwight's personal life became increasingly complicated. His fame brought both the highs of Hollywood attention and the lows of public scrutiny, and it seemed that his efforts to balance both his career and personal life were constantly at odds. His ventures into acting, which he had hoped would propel him to new heights, only added to the strain he was feeling on all fronts. It was a period of personal growth, but also one of significant turmoil, a time where Dwight faced the consequences of his bold decisions, both in the music industry and in Hollywood. As Dwight navigated the struggles of his acting ambitions, failed relationships, and mounting professional setbacks, it became clear that he was caught in the middle of two worlds. In one, he was the country music rebel, fighting against the mainstream, and in the other, he was an aspiring actor trying to carve out a space in a ruthless industry. Both paths seemed to lead to dead ends, leaving Dwight to reassess his priorities and figure out where he truly belonged. His transition into acting had been a bold move, but in the end, it was a journey fraught with challenges that would shape his future in ways he hadn't expected. After years of relative silence, Dwight Yoakam made an impressive return to the music world in 2012. With the release of 3 Pairs, Dwight once again proved that he was far from done. The album wasn't designed to chase after mainstream success. Rather, it was a statement of his commitment to making music for a loyal fan base that appreciated his authenticity. The album's success wasn't measured in chart-topping hits or radio airplay, but in the connection Dwight had maintained with his most devoted followers. His return was a reminder that, even though the industry had changed, there was still a place for true artists like Dwight, whose music resonated deeply with those who appreciated the roots of country music. 3 Pairs marked a personal and professional comeback for Dwight, showing that while his days of dominating the charts might have passed, his influence and relevance remained firmly intact. Instead of trying to replicate the commercial success of his earlier career, Dwight chose to focus on the music he was passionate about. This approach allowed him to stay true to his roots and create records that were both personal and timeless. The album resonated with fans who had followed his journey over the years and understood that Dwight's music was about much more than fame or sales. It was about the art of storytelling and the authenticity of his sound. In a time when the music industry was increasingly driven by fleeting trends, Dwight's decision to embrace his roots allowed him to carve out a niche for himself that was both lasting and fulfilling. His resurgence wasn't about reclaiming past glory. It was about making music that meant something to him and to the fans who had always supported him. While Dwight's music was experiencing a resurgence, his personal life was also undergoing significant changes. In 2010, Dwight quietly entered a relationship with Emily Joyce, a model and photographer who, despite her connection to a public figure, kept a low profile. Their relationship was kept out of the public eye for nearly a decade, a stark contrast to the much publicized and often tumultuous relationships of Dwight's past. This privacy was a deliberate choice, as Dwight seemed to have learned the value of keeping certain aspects of his life shielded from the spotlight. Emily, who had worked in photography and the arts, was a source of stability for Dwight, and together they built a life away from the scrutiny that often comes with fame. In 2020, Dwight and Emily took the next step in their relationship by getting married. Their wedding was a quiet affair, in line with their desire to keep their personal lives private. However, just a few months after their wedding, the couple made another announcement that would bring them even closer together. Emily was pregnant, and they were expecting a son. The news of their son, Dalton, brought a new sense of joy and purpose to Dwight's life. Though he was in his 60s, Dwight embraced fatherhood with the same intensity and passion that had defined his music career. Becoming a father marked a new chapter for Dwight, one that seemed to ground him in a way he had never experienced before. Fatherhood brought a new sense of balance and contentment to Dwight's life. Having a family of his own gave him a renewed focus and a deeper appreciation for the quiet moments that often go unnoticed. Dwight's career, once defined by rebellion and defiance, had evolved into something much more personal and meaningful. His role as a husband and father was now just as important as his music, and his priorities had shifted to include the nurturing of his family as well as his creative work. While the music industry had changed dramatically since Dwight first entered it, his return to music and his new role as a family man showed that, even in the face of personal and professional challenges, Dwight was finding fulfillment in new and unexpected ways. Dwight's comeback wasn't just a return to the stage, it was a return to himself. It was a chance to embrace the things that mattered most to him: his family, his music, and his authenticity. In a world where fame and success are often fleeting, Dwight Yoakam's resurgence was a reminder that true artists evolve with time, and that personal growth is just as important as professional success. Now, as a father and husband, Dwight's life has come full circle, and he continues to create music that resonates with his dedicated fan base, offering them a glimpse into the more grounded, private side of his world. Dwight Yoakam's career has not been without its share of legal battles. One of the most publicized came in 2002, when he found himself in a dispute with his longtime collaborator, Pete Anderson. The issue stemmed from a series of missed concert dates, which resulted in Anderson losing a significant amount of income. Anderson filed a lawsuit against Dwight, claiming that his failure to perform at these shows had caused him financial harm. The legal tension between the two was a blow to Dwight, both personally and professionally. Anderson had been a key figure in Dwight's rise to fame, and the fallout from this lawsuit added to the strain Dwight was already facing with his fluctuating career. Despite the negative impact of the legal dispute, Dwight remained focused on moving forward, working through the challenges and continuing his musical journey. Another significant legal issue arose later in 2021 when Dwight was faced with a battle over the rights to his music. Warner Music had removed many of Dwight's tracks from streaming platforms due to the expiration of his contract. This left his fans without easy access to much of his catalog. However, Dwight wasn't one to back down when it came to his work. He took legal action, asserting that he should have the right to reclaim his music. The lawsuit was a critical moment in Dwight's ongoing fight for control over his artistic legacy. After a lengthy battle, Dwight won the rights to his music, and soon after, his songs were made available again on streaming platforms. This victory was not only a personal one for Dwight, but also a reminder of the ongoing struggles that artists face in maintaining ownership of their work in an increasingly digital world. While the legal battles were undoubtedly challenging, Dwight's resilience shone through as he continued to fight for what he believed was rightfully his. These struggles highlighted the complexity of navigating the music industry, especially for artists like Dwight, who had spent so much of his career resisting the traditional expectations of the business. The legal victories allowed him to regain control over his music and ensure that it would continue to reach his dedicated fans. But Dwight's journey wasn't just limited to the music world. He also found himself branching out into new business ventures. In addition to his musical career, Dwight took an interest in the food industry, expanding his brand into an entirely new territory. He launched Bakersfield Biscuits, a line of frozen food products that allowed him to bring a piece of his personal brand into the kitchens of his fans. Bakersfield Biscuits was more than just a business. It was an extension of Dwight's persona. The company capitalized on his roots, connecting his country upbringing with a product that felt both authentic and accessible. Dwight's decision to enter the food industry may have seemed like an unusual move for a musician, but it was part of his ongoing desire to diversify his interests and expand his brand beyond just music. Bakersfield Biscuits became a success, with Dwight gaining attention not only for his musical career, but also for his entrepreneurial spirit. This new venture allowed Dwight to connect with a broader audience, and it reflected his ability to reinvent himself outside of the music industry. The success of the business showed that Dwight's creativity and ambition were not limited to his guitar or his voice. He had the drive to succeed in different fields, and Bakersfield Biscuits proved to be just one example of his ability to adapt and thrive in an ever-changing world. Dwight's ventures into the legal realm and the food industry were just a few of the many ways he continued to evolve over the years. While his music remained at the core of his identity, his ability to navigate the business side of the industry, as well as expand into new areas, showcased his versatility and determination. Whether battling for the rights to his music or venturing into new business opportunities, Dwight Yoakam proved that his legacy wasn't just about his songs, it was about his resilience and his willingness to push boundaries in every aspect of his life. Dwight Yoakam's journey has been nothing short of remarkable. From his rise as a country music rebel, defying the mainstream to bring back the raw, honky-tonk sounds of the past, to his unexpected venture into Hollywood as an actor, Dwight has always charted his own course. His boldness in the face of industry norms and his refusal to conform to Nashville's commercial pressures made him an icon, one whose influence transcended the boundaries of traditional country music. Dwight's music, filled with authenticity and grit, earned him a loyal following, even when mainstream success seemed just out of reach. His acting career, while not as sustained as his music, showed Dwight's versatility and ambition. From playing complex villains to directing his own films, he sought to expand his artistic expression beyond the stage. However, this move into Hollywood was not without its struggles. The financial failure of his western South of Heaven, West of Hell proved to be a humbling moment, but even then, Dwight demonstrated his resilience, continuing to push forward and embrace new opportunities. His legal battles, from the lawsuit with Pete Anderson to his fight for control over his music, reflected his tenacity and his drive to maintain ownership of his work. Despite the setbacks, Dwight returned to his roots in the music industry, releasing 3 pairs in 2012, a testament to his enduring appeal to a niche, dedicated fan base. This comeback wasn't about reclaiming the heights of commercial success. It was about staying true to his roots and his craft. It was about making music for the fans who had always believed in him. Dwight had embraced his role as an artist on his own terms, with no intention of chasing fleeting trends or radio hits. His comeback was a celebration of the authenticity that had always defined his career. In addition to his musical and acting pursuits, Dwight's personal life saw significant growth. He found stability in his marriage to Emily Joyce, a relationship that remained private for nearly a decade. Their decision to build a family together was another turning point for Dwight, as fatherhood brought a new sense of purpose and balance to his life. The birth of their son, Dalton, in 2020 marked a new chapter, one that Dwight had not anticipated in the early days of his career. Becoming a father at 63, Dwight embraced this new phase with the same passion and dedication he had given to his music and acting, proving that life, like art, is constantly evolving. But Dwight's ambitions didn't stop with his career and family. His entrepreneurial spirit led him to explore the food industry with the launch of Bakersfield Biscuits, a line of frozen food products that helped expand his brand beyond music. Dwight's willingness to diversify his interests is a testament to his ability to adapt and succeed in a world that's constantly changing. Whether he's on stage, on screen, or running a business, Dwight has shown that he's more than just a country music icon. He's a man of many talents and ambitions. So as we look back on Dwight Yoakam's journey, it's clear that his story is one of evolution, resilience, and authenticity. From his rebellious beginnings in country music to his ventures in Hollywood and business, Dwight has consistently refused to be defined by any one label. He's not just a country music artist or a Hollywood actor. He's a true artist, a family man, and an entrepreneur who has carved his own path in the world. Now, as we wrap up, we want to hear from you. Are you a Dwight Yoakam fan? What's your favorite album or song? How has Dwight's music or journey impacted you? Let us know in the comments below. And be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of legendary artists.